Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to another Webinar Wednesday hosted by the Cal State Bakersfield Small Business Development Center. Good afternoon. This is number 297 in our Webinar Wednesday series that is in its 10th year right now. It's November 1st, 2023, and we got a great webinar. So I'll be your host today, Kelly Bearden. I'm the director of the SBDC, and we have the chief economist, Jim Damian, the Chief Economic Development Officer, Jim Damian, who we'll bring in just a little bit. Our Chief Economist for Webinar Wednesday, Mark Evans, is not here today. But we will have also Ollie Morris, the Kern Inclusive Entrepreneurship Hub, and we will get going in just a second. So what is up today? Today, November the 1st. November 1st, 2023. So we will get a great dive into the economic development activities that are going on with the Kern County Chief Officer for Economic Development in just a few minutes, and also some details coming up on the Inclusive Hub. Our weekly feature, the Capital Quarter, is going to focus a little bit on our ongoing federal small business credit survey and the need that I have for more of you to complete this survey. So I'm coming to the point where I'm about ready to say, pretty please. We have 2 weeks left, and we'll talk just a little bit about that on our weekly installment of Capital Quarter. We will not have our economic corner today. We will have Dr. Evans back next week. Our community calendar has upcoming events of interest, so some fine things going on in our community. Have some updates on some of the programs that are going on, and also some of the disaster loan assistance. And as always, we'll take your questions. We'll answer them live at the conclusion of our presentation today. Maureen will be busy putting in resources in the chat box, and let's start off with our poll today. So we do have a poll question or two today, and our poll question is going to be on some news that was released. Since we don't have our economic corner today, we'll just provide a little poll question on the economic side. And also what came out this week was the measurement of net worth for U.S. families. And, you know, as business people, many of you know that the net worth is kind of like the capital section of your balance sheet. And it was measured two different ways this week, on the average and also the median net worth. And so let's start with the first question here. And the first question is going to deal with the median value. So the median is kind of, you throw out the top, you throw out the bottom, and what's stuck in the middle is a good analogy for median. The median value of U.S. net worth in the United States, is it 193,000? Is it 485,000? Is it 767,000? So we're not talking about the average. We'll get to that soon enough. Right now it's just the median, which is that biggest block where most of the U.S. family net worth, and our net worth is of course, our assets minus liabilities. So for the residential side, we call it oftentimes the net worth, the individual, and call it capital or other things on the actual balance sheet. So we do have 50% of you participating, so please go ahead and jump on in. We are asking the median value of U.S. family net worth, 193, 485, or 767. And we have 61% of you participating, so let's end the poll and share the results. And whoa, 88% of you say it's 193,000, and 88% of you are correct. So congratulations. That's one of the best responses in a long time, in quite a while. 88% of you are correct. 485,000, 13% of you assumed or guessed incorrectly on that one. So with our median value, our median net worth for a U.S. family being at 193,000, that kind of sets up our next question. And our second question is going to be, you know, a little bit similar to this, except it is going to be based on the average. So the average family net worth is at 313,000. Is it $537,000, or is it over $1 million? And with this, the average includes all the multi-millionaires, the billionaires that skew the number higher, but how much higher? We're at 193,000 for the median. We're looking for the average family net worth in the US. So we're taking everybody from both spectrums all the way across the average, all those billionaires. So is it 313,000, 537,000, or over $1 million? And with 62% of you in right now, we're going to give you one last second to jump in. And is it 313, 537, or over $1 million? With 65% will end the poll, and we'll share the results showing that 68% of you think it's 313,000. And, the SBDC giveth and the SBDC taketh away. And right here, we're seeing that 5% over 1 million, the actual skewing of all those multimillionaires and billionaires has created the average US family net worth of over $1 million. Yes, wow, I agree. Kind of shows you a little perspective of from median to average wealth on what's happening with net worth with US families. So thank you for participating, and let's move along. Okay, so we've been talking a little bit about our capital quarter, and when we had this issue months back with the debt ceiling, which was, I guess, Congress's crisis of the day, we've decided to come up with some of the debt ceiling that is preventing your small business from raising capital for your particular business. And so over the weeks, we've looked at a number of different topics, everything from, having your debt to equity financial ratio out of whack. We looked at also the fact that minimizing your taxes could actually affect long-term funding by showing less income than your business, kind of a double-edged sword with that one. But how your business kind of reflects net income and cash flow for your particular business. So today we're going to make my plea to please take our Fed credit survey. We have until November 15th to do that. And the reason we're doing this and working with this is the Federal Reserve of San Francisco has provided us a link to provide Kern County information. And if we get 75 participants, 75 business owners that share their experience on, and you can go to the chat, it's probably in the chat by now, and find that link. But we'll get key findings on how it is easy or difficult and the issues with accessing credit in Kern County for small businesses. Now, they did share with us some California information that I couldn't find online, but it was provided directly from the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. And here's a few of the notes that they came up with in the 2022 survey, that California firms faced more financial challenges than employer firms nationally. Also, the second key finding was that financial condition was largely unchanged in 2021. But the problem with that is the majority of California firms reported they were in fair or poor financial condition when taking the survey. And the third was California firms were more likely to seek government funding during the past 5 years. And really during the pandemic, we saw a tremendous spike, which we are happy to take a little bit of the credit for that, in the pandemic resources that were available to small businesses. But California firms during the pandemic were far more likely to access firms than the other 49 states. So those are some of the findings that we're really hoping that we can get and find out some of the more critical issues that are happening with small business credit and actually work to improve accessing credit for our small business startups, our expanding businesses, and those that are taking off. So there's a little bit of a link to that and a little bit of the small business credit survey. All the Federal Reserve banks across the country are participating. It is about a 10 or 12 minute survey, and it does close on not the 15th, but the 17th of November. So please share your opinion on credit moving forward. So last time we talked a little bit about, one of the other credit. Last week we talked about the credit survey, and we found that more small businesses in California were using online or fintech services. And so we ran one of the examples last week to show that it was 49.49% interest rate. So with that, we just wanted to show you kind of some of the impacts that credit survey is having and continues to have. Okay, so that'll bring us to our first guest today, and it's Ollie Morris, who's the co-founder of WEM Enterprises, LLC. Ollie's done a lot of things, and Ollie continues to do a lot of things as board chair and founder of 3C Capital. Ollie is the co-founder of the Kern County Black Chamber of Commerce, serves as the director of the Kern Inclusive Entrepreneurship Hub that he'll talk a little bit about, has worked with hundreds of individuals, including many of those here at the SBDC, the CSUB SBDC, when he was an advisor for us a few years back. One of Ollie's goals is to present business and entrepreneurial mindset to youth. He's born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, has his BS degree in electrical engineering and a minor. Ollie, it's great to have you here. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday.
Appreciate it, Kelly. Appreciate you inviting me. Appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit with the audience and see what we can provide, whatever help we can provide, whatever information that may be useful. My passion is to make sure that all this business resources and information gets out there to the individuals that can use it and want to use it. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you're doing as far as with your many business ventures and about how our small businesses can participate.
Currently, right now, we're a year into our program, the Kern Inclusive Entrepreneurship Hub. We are running that under a contract with the California Office of Small Business Advocate, OSBA, and it is helpful for us to continue to work with them. We are providing a 12-month business development program. The program we have a partnership with Cal OSBA, and we managed to get a partnership with the Notre Dame UPBI Urban Poverty Business Initiative. They were just launching as we started, and their goal is to see how they can bring business or bring people out of poverty through starting and operating businesses. And so they're targeting the poverty level, whereas the Cal OSBA was targeting trying to get more small minority-owned business into technology. So we kind of ran a hybrid of those two when we started our hub, and we are reaching now. I'm taking that program and reaching into Kern County. I started in Bakersfield the first year, and this year we are expanding from Bakersfield out to the full county with our programs. We run different cohorts throughout the year. Right now we're running our second cohort. We start working with them in a boot camp where we teach the basis of business startup, business entrepreneur mindset, what credit and how it affects your business startup, and run all those basics for 6 weeks with our cohort. We segue from there into mentorship, where we provide individual memberships for each business participant. They talk with the mentors and work with them for about 3 months. Hopefully they do it for maybe like once or twice a month or more. Develop a relationship where the businesses can get questions answered. And it's not so much about solving their business problems. It's more like helping them understand a business personal life relationship, a work-life balance. Sometimes there are things about the business that they're having problems with that are not necessarily business related. We talk about trying to work from home and trying to deal with other aspects of your life while trying to get a business started up. And sometimes talking to a mentor can help understand that they're not in that alone, and there are resources out there for them to access for that. We segue from the mentoring program into our business assessments. where we help the businesses understand where they're at right now, where they're trying to get to, and what resources are out there to help them on that pathway. Then we go into coaching, and we do coaching for about 2 or 3 months, where we provide coaches from local institutes like CSUB, with the BC provides coaching, and we have different professionals come in and work with our businesses on a one-on-one, helping them solve some of the problems they identified during the assessment phase. And then after that coaching phase, we prepare them to start going after funding. We want to make sure that they understand all the funding that is needed to operate a business. A lot of times businesses, they start off and they don't understand exactly how much funding is required to start and operate a business and sustain it. So we make sure that understanding is they have that, and then we go out, and our goal is to have 100% success rate in getting our businesses funded for getting their businesses up and running. So, and that normally takes longer than a couple of months. So again, we have a 12-month program, and even after the 12 months, we encourage our businesses to stay in contact with us, and we'll continue to work with them as long as they need it. So we're pretty excited about that whole program as we run it right now.
Ollie, also you do some work with funding. I believe it's 3C Capital. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on there?
Yes, 3C Capital Fund is an effort to have an alternative funding source for some small business, especially the businesses that face different barriers when it comes to accessing capital. 3C Capital Fund is a certified venture capital fund with the U.S. Treasury Department. We haven't actually started venture capital investment yet. We're on the process of working with the U.S. Treasury Department and the state on trying to get funding into the system. But we know that's becoming very popular among small businesses. They are understanding that the equity financing for their business versus debt financing is a popular alternative to what they're doing. So we're trying to make sure that we are one of the sources for that.
Well, you guys do great work in the community, and thank you for being there in so many of the disadvantaged areas of Kern County, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. You know, we're now partnering with your organization to go out to the community and out into the county. So we look forward to a continued prosperous relationship as we work with you.
Great. And thank you for your sponsorship of Webinar Wednesday.
Anytime, Kelly. You know, I love working with you.
So for more information with Ollie, you can find him in the chat, and more information and some of the great things that Ollie is doing. And it's just great to have more resources and more programs that are benefiting businesses in Kern County. And away we go. So a few of the other programs that are going on that I just want to remind you of is you can still get in the Bakersfield Food Management Program. It's our food service program that we're doing with Extended University at Cal State Bakersfield. And it's to assist people in receiving the City of Bakersfield Entrepreneurship Grant. And the city's Entrepreneurship Grant Program is open. Try to have more information on that next week. It is open and still taking applications for those that go through and take a training program that also have one-on-one advising through one of the technical service providers, and also write a wonderful business plan. So those opportunities are still there. The majority of them are $5,000 and $10,000 grants. So reach out to the SBDC or other providers, and we can give you more information on that. The city also has their Business Security Improvement Grant Program that helps for a number of security systems and other things. The one program that we've really been excited about and really been seeing great things, you've heard us talk about it over the last few months, or last several months, and that is running a daycare business out of your home. We currently have about a dozen people that are running through this particular program in Kern County, of which they will receive startup grants at a minimum of $1,000, and really kind of fix a big problem that we have in Kern County being on an island as far as childcare providers. So hope to get that fixed. Also, the California Employers Association has provided free human resource hotline for employers. You can see based on the county that you're located in, you will have your specific number. For Kern, Annual, and Mono counties, it's right there listed on top, 88201-5817. And actually, this program came to us through America's Job Center, the employment training resource in Kern County. So on our community calendar, some upcoming events. I learned this morning that the 2023 Kern County Energy Summit, planned for 2 weeks from today on the 15th. I know it's amazing that people would try to have an event on Webinar Wednesday, but they do, and this one is sold out. So, but the interesting news, or the great news about the Energy Summit, which we find to be a fantastic event, is that it will be available on the Kern EDC website, recorded version after the event. So if you're not going, you can always go back and see some of the interesting things that are going on. And also our friends at the NOR Chamber have a QuickBooks training coming up on a week from today on November the 8th. It starts at noon. So that would be an opportunity for you to go learn more about QuickBooks and then go to one of our other on-demand sources to watch Webinar Wednesday. Our emeritus professor, economics professor, and Webinar Wednesday resident economist returns next week. You can go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Yes, you can subscribe and receive webinars once they're published each week. So if you miss a Webinar Wednesday, you will get the notification that it is available for you to watch at this time. Our CSUB SBDC YouTube channel hosts close to about 300 videos, a little fewer than that, but it's getting close. Also, the tools that are available for your SBDC, from your SBDC and for your business, we are really extensive with LivePlan. You might have heard that presentation last week. It's in our YouTube if you want to learn more about LivePlan and the business planning tools that are available, along with cash flow forecasting. Our Clayton Leadership Transition Plan, really a unique tool that was provided to us from Morgan and Tasha Clayton on their leadership transition to the next generation. That is in our toolbox that you can find out more information out. If you're looking at exiting your business, that is a perfectly good way to do that. So that brings us to our special guest today. And our special guest is Jim Damian, and he is Kern County's new Chief Economic Development Officer. And Jim is within the Chief Administration Office. He reports directly to the head of the CAO, Jim Service, and he is being tasked with doing a number of things to prioritize regional diversification, targeting and attracting of new business ventures. In 2005, Mr. Damian founded Stria, an acclaimed digital transformation company that uses technology and continuous improvement to reduce burdens associated with business processes. In August of 2022, Stria was acquired by Bitwise Industry in a private equity-backed venture. As an entrepreneur, two-time Ironman triathlete finisher, what an animal. 2021 Business Person of the Year, comes to us from Tehachapi, California, which was beautiful this morning, I might add, and holds an undergraduate degree from San Diego State University and a master's from UC Berkeley. President of the Rotary and advisory board member with the Central California Region SBDC program. Jim, it's great having you on today. Great having an entrepreneur in your position. Can't wait to learn more about it. Take it away, please.
All right. Well, thank you, Kelly. And Ali, it was good to hear what you're up to and the great work that's happening there. It's always a pleasure to be on Webinar Wednesday. And I'll be honest, everybody that's on this call, I spent most of my time on the other side of the screen, right? I've viewed many of these Wednesday webinars that the SBDC has put on. And the reason for that is that actually I'm an entrepreneur. And I'll tell you just a little bit about how my journey and how I got into this current role. But I am not a traditional government guy. I'm an entrepreneur. So I originally am from Tehachapi. Family's been here about 100 years in this in the great Kern County area. Tehachapi's home until we moved around a little bit, and I ended up landing here in Bakersfield. But my journey to where I'm at now, I'm at 1115 Truxton Avenue, and people call this the Taj Mahal sometimes. This is the county headquarters, and I got invited here very recently. Before this, like I said, I was in the same situation as many of the folks on this call. I was an entrepreneur working on a business. I started a company. Actually, I started my career as a social worker, found myself drowning in paper, and got interested in how technology could be used to solve some of those problems of managing paper files and information. So ended up moving from the UC Berkeley campus, where I studied and got a master's degree in social work. I moved back down to Kern County to start a business. The business was called Stria. We were a digital process improvement company. And what that means is we'd work with anybody with lots of data, lots of paper, lots of process needs, and help modernize and optimize those things. So we ended up creating a pretty successful business. Ran that for 18 years. We had clients all over the country, and then ended up selling the company in 2022. Some of you have heard the story. The people that bought us ended up going out of business shortly after the acquisition. So this was a case of trying to grow too fast. The 1,000 people found out all on the same day that the company wasn't in business anymore. But our piece of the puzzle was a very successful 135 person digital transformation company. And so we're real proud of what we did in that journey. But after we sold, I got a call. It was kind of an interesting phone call from the former CAO, Ryan Alsop. And Ryan Alsop said, "Hey, Jim, we kind of think we need an entrepreneur. We'd like an entrepreneur to come in and work on something called economic development." Well, the first thing I did is I Googled economic development, because to be honest, I didn't know what it was. And it's a really fancy title. So we're going to talk about what it means. But in general, that's how I got here. The county government decided they'd like to have an entrepreneur come help out in a couple different ways. So again, I want to reemphasize, I work for the county, which means I work for you all. So I'm here to serve, and I'm here to help businesses grow. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like in the real world from my chair here today. So this will be short and sweet. And by the way, I'm going to share my screen. I got a couple slides I want to share with you. But also, I'll encourage you, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and type them in the chat box anytime. So don't be afraid. If you've got something you want to ask about, go ahead and type it in the chat box, and we'll answer that. So I'll answer for you the first question that you might have. What is economic development, right? And it means a lot of things to a lot of people. But when you hear this term, economic development, whether that's in a private company, at the city of Bakersfield, or my seat, the county of Kern, it really means creating opportunity that will allow wealth to be generated, that will allow income to be generated. And a key part of that is that it's economic well-being and quality of life improvement for an entire region, right? So economic development is not picking winners and losers. It's not helping just a small number of customers or a small number of companies grow. Economic development is thinking about how we support broad improvement of our economic stability, of our economic well-being across an entire county. And as you all know, Kern County is 8,000 square miles. We've got almost 1 million people. So it's not like some of these other places in the state or in the country where we've got one industry or just two industries. We've got a couple of major industries, which we'll talk about. But if you drive out to Mojave and look at the Mojave Air and Spaceport, right, that looks totally different than what we're doing at, distribution centers at Tejon, which looks totally different than solar fields in East Kern. It looks totally different than the oil and gas work that we're doing on the south and the west side of the area. So the idea is here in this big county, we at the county of Kern want to make sure that we're generating improved economic well-being and quality of life for a whole community. And so what does that mean, right? So I guess the number one thing I want you to think about is what is my job? What is the county economic development strategy? And it boils down to one really simple but really hard thing. Okay, we believe that our most important job in the economic development office is this: we should help Kern County become the best place in the state to start and grow a business. So if you are already here and you're running a business or working in a business, congratulations. Our commitment to you is we're going to make sure this is the best place in the state to grow, okay, and to run your business. If people are not yet here, and we could go down a laundry list of businesses we'd love to see in Kern County. In fact, before I even started this job, my mother called me and said, "Can you get us a Whole Foods?" And then we got a call back, "Can you get us a Nordstrom's?" And of course, everybody loves to talk about Bass Pro, Top Golf. Great Wolf Lodge. So there's a lot of businesses that we want to attract to come to Kern County. And those investments that we want to entice and welcome into our community, that's a big part of the job. But all this is under one really important umbrella. We should be the best place in the state to start and grow business. So that's true north. That's the direction we're going in. So again, it's very simple, but it's not easy. So if I look out at the future and what we're being asked to do, I want to share a little bit of, I want to shine a light on some of the things we're doing. But let me bring this home to you in the, those of you who are running businesses and organizations that are on the call. A big part of my job personally is to kind of look at the landscape and help ensure a healthy blend of public and private activity in our economy, right? And we are capitalism, right? We practice capitalism in America, but we're really what's called, Dr. Barnes from CSUB would tell us, we are a mixed economy. We rely heavily, mostly on private enterprise to deliver the goods and services we need, but we rely on the government for a heck of a lot. So part of what my job is to think through, where should the government get involved, right? I mean, there are certain state and federal areas of involvement. Taxation. Sorry, some of you don't believe we should pay taxes. I get it, but we don't have any say in what state or federal taxes are levied. There are just certain rules of the game that we're subjected to by virtue of where we live. But there's a lot of discretion. How does the county support new businesses? How do we support existing businesses? And so thinking about where the government should get involved is a really big part of my job. And one of the areas is, my sort of litmus test for where I advocate to my boss, the CAO, and to the Board of Supervisors is I really look at a question first and go, can the private sector solve a problem? If the private sector can solve a problem efficiently, we shouldn't be playing in that space. So that's my first test. And a lot of my answers to questions and to a lot of the things I say on calls here in the county government is let's just stay out of the way. And some people find that answer amusing. Some people find that answer annoying. But in general, when the private sector can accomplish something, let's stay out of the way. So I'm really spending most of my time on your behalf, on behalf of the people that pay taxes in the county, and especially the businesses in the county, thinking about where the government should get involved and where we should not be involved, with the big picture on widespread, broad economic well-being. We want to incentivize investments that wouldn't happen without us being involved. Most things are going to get solved by private industry, but areas where we need to have government involvement, that's where I spend most of my time. So what does that look like? And I don't see any questions in the chat just yet. So we're going to just keep going along. If you got anything, you're welcome to put it in the chat. But let's talk a little bit about where we spend our time. Okay, what specifically are we doing? Right? We can talk about mother country, America, apple pie, right? And we want to be the best place in the state to start and grow business. What's that mean? Well, there's really 5 things that I'm spending most of my time on, okay? On your behalf, the taxpayers' behalf, in accordance with what my boss and the supervisors want us to be looking at and working on. One is we need to be at the table. The state of California and the federal government are making policy decisions. They're passing laws and statutes that impact businesses in Kern County. So we need to be at the table, engaging, sharing information, educating the state on what we're up to in Kern County. So there's an element of advocacy that comes along with this role, but I spend a lot of time thinking about how I can use this position to support the businesses in Kern County. So I try and be a good steward of my time, and I try and represent you all and our businesses at different meetings, with state officials, and even sometimes with federal officials, talking about how things are really going in Kern County and where the government is needed and where we might not need them. So that's just part of what my role is, and I guess it kind of goes back to the old adage: if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So I try and be at the right tables to advocate for the county, specifically the businesses of Kern County. Now, okay, number 2, this is where we really get some meat on the bone with what I spend my hours doing. If you want to build something, or even in some cases do something, create something in Kern County, you need a permit. Many things need to be permitted. Again, the private sector is really good at solving lots of things, making sure buildings don't fall down, making sure that there's not pollution, making sure that there are not illegal sorts of structures. The government needs to be there. And what we've heard consistently over the past, well, really before I got here, but over the past 90 days, what I've heard is a lot of concern about the permit process. If I want to build something in Kern County, what does it take to do that? And so one of my big initiatives in this office is to modernize the permitting process. We're going to start by surveying every single person that's pulled a permit from our Public Works Department. We're going to survey all those people. Anybody that's done it in the last 2 years is going to get a survey. And we're going to establish a baseline around two things: how speedy was the process, and what was the quality of service. And we're going to continue to do anonymous surveys perpetually to see if our permitting process is getting better, getting worse, or staying the same. Part of that is going to be documenting every process that we have around permits and attaching a clock to every application. So there'll be a standard. If you come in and need to apply for a grading permit, well, if you do your job as a developer or as a homeowner, if you're going to do a tenant improvement, if you do your job and submit the application, how many days should it take for you to get word back that it's approved, it's rejected, or we need more information? And so we're going to have a very detailed clock running on every type of application so that we, as your service provider at the county government, can give you clarity on what the process is to get approval to do things, build things, start businesses, that sort of thing. So this permitting modernization is a huge part of our work, and you're going to see a lot of noise about that. It's going to be a bit of a painful process because we're taking a real hard look at everything of how we do it. And everybody's intention in the county government is to make it a great process so people who do want to build or grow their physical spaces can do so with certainty. So that's one of the most important things we've got going on. The second thing, or actually the third thing that I'm working on in partnership with a lot of partners, is attracting new investment. I'm going to talk a little bit about the partnerships that exist in Kern County, but there's many of us. I'll talk about some of the other players that are working on this. There are many folks in Kern County who are very eager to attract new businesses to the county. We've got some great ones already here. We've got new projects coming online all the time. If you drive around the county, you'll see new solar projects coming online almost every day. These are new investments. You'll see wind energy projects coming online almost every day, new investments. We're looking at things like hydrogen, right? Everybody's talking about and ideating around this new energy economy in the area of carbon capture and sequestration, right? So we've got huge opportunity for our region. We think that Kern County should continue to be leading the world with regards to energy. Yes, we need to drill for oil. Yes, we need to refine oil. Yes, we need to do those things. That's our legacy. Those are legacy partnerships that will continue. But as the energy sector evolves, we want to lead the way. And that means attracting new investments and new projects to Kern County. So we continue to do that. And outside of energy, I think everybody knows we've got approval for a Hard Rock casino just kind of near in the area of Mettler. So this is Native American tribal lands. We're going to be putting, the tribe rather is going to be putting with its partnerships, a new casino resort, a hotel on the premise there. It's going to be 3,000 new permanent jobs, over 400 hotel rooms, a number of different dining establishments and concert venues. It's going to be a game changer for the region. Again, this new investment's been being worked on for close to a decade, and we couldn't be more excited that that's coming. So all sorts of new investments coming into Kern. We want to go attract and talk to those customers and bring them to our county and tell them really what we've got going on. So that's a big part of my job, is to attract new investment in partnership with some of our partners I'll talk about. Of course, our legacy partners, the two legacy industries here that feed and fuel and power much of the world, really is our energy industry and our agriculture industry. So we're always looking carefully at new legislation at the state level, new policies at the county level, to make sure we're doing everything we can to support our legacy partners as they continue to operate, get back to full operations, and then grow. So that's, existing businesses are a huge focus for us, and making sure we do everything in our power to support those through both policy choices and advocacy. Again, we live in the state of California. We live in the United States of America. There are some things that are not negotiable. Things that are negotiable, where we can advocate, we want to have a loud, proud, strong voice to make sure we're really getting our point across on how to support legacy industry that is just so needed, still, not just in this region, but on the planet. And I guess, the final thing I'll say is just maximizing partnerships. I mentioned earlier, I was spend most of my webinar Wednesdays on the other side of the camera and the other side of the microphone as a participant, as an entrepreneur, thinking through, how do I grow my business? I had 3 SBA loans throughout my 20-year history as an entrepreneur. I had SBDC mentorship in my business history. So I'm a big fan of SBDC. The county is an investor in SBDC. And so we really are proud of that relationship. And so I work closely with Kelly and his team to just make sure we're maximizing that partnership and aligning every way we can. Our largest partner in the economic development space is the Kern Economic Development Corporation, KEDC. So we work super closely pretty much every day with a great team at KEDC. Many of you know Mr. Richard Chapman, Melinda Brown. There's a lot of folks who in the KEDC world. We invest in that organization. They're close partners, and we are aligned. And together, those legacy partnerships are going to continue to grow and flourish. And B3K is another group that's coming online, Better Bakersfield, Boundless Kern, that both SBDC, KEDC, and the county were all involved with B3K. That's a very important new economic development convener that will help keep everybody in Kern County aligned as we move forward with different projects. So these partnerships are really key, and we see a huge value in being a force multiplier to the good work that's happening at KEDC and SBDC and B3K. The county envisions himself as a participant, but also a force multiplier in that good work that's already happening. Again, the end result here, the net bottom line is, what levers, what partnerships, what activities can we embark upon to make sure Kern County becomes the best place in the state to start and grow a business? Every minute, every dollar, every ounce of energy is singularly focused on that one objective, making sure that businesses can come here and can grow here with certainty and with confidence. We're not there yet. We've got a lot of mountains that we still need to climb, but together we will climb. So if you're a local company and you hear all this fancy stuff and these acronyms and, carbon capture, I mean, some people are, my business was, didn't have anything to do with the energy industry, but we found a way to get some of our legacy industry service companies and producers as customers. So if you're there in a private sector company or even a public organization, how can you benefit from what's happening and the things I'm talking about? The most important thing is to stay engaged. The new energy projects and solar and wind and carbon capture, all these companies, all this investment, hydrogen projects, these things are coming to Kern County. So be looking to see how you can be involved. How can you get some of these large projects to rely upon your services? I always like to think about a legacy story from 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, the gold rush, right? There was a gold rush in California, and the company that made the most money and did the most economic goodness, came to not somebody panning for gold, but to Levi Strauss and Company, right? The guy that sold the shovels, that sold the tents, that sold the Levi's. So it's not always going to be the core industry. Very few people can come up with the technology to do something like carbon capture and sequestration, but anybody can come up with a service that those companies need. So I just would encourage you to be thinking about how you grow your business, how you grow your organization, and ride the waves that are coming into Kern County in those key sectors. We had another thing I'll just mention, and the link will be in the chat. There's been, a big amount of work trying to forecast on where the growth is going to be in Kern County. We know ag and oil are huge industries, and many of you partner with those already. But I would encourage you to be thinking about new areas. What are the surprise areas that are going to come in? Where's the surprise growth going to come from? And Brookings Institute, a think tank that we partnered with here in the county 2 years ago, they came up with 5 different areas and you can read the link to the whole studies in the chat. It's a long study, but it's really worth taking a look at that and understanding what it is. But there are 5 areas that Brookings say are going to explode in Kern County: entrepreneurship, advanced manufacturing, business services, energy, and aerospace. So as you're thinking about future-proofing your organization and improving and increasing revenue and improving and increasing profit, my advice is to be bold, take risks, but make them calculated risks. There's no data. It could happen, right? But there's no data to suggest Kern County is going to be #1 in tourism. We've got great tourism assets all over the county, not the least of which is in Eastern Kern with the Kern River and the river rafting, and what's going on in Kernville is world class. But that's a targeted industry some of you might want to get involved with. Brookings is saying you've got 5 home runs floating around out there. I just read them off to you. You can look them up again. But think about how you align with those industries, with those sectors, and get involved because those are where we see a huge amount of growth. So we're real close to the end of Webinar Wednesday, or as some of you call it, Wine Wednesday. But the long and short of it is I'm about 90 days into this role, and I spend all of my time thinking about how to make Kern County the best place to start and grow a business. And that's not just theory. That's not hypothetical. I've been doing that. And like many of you on this call, you're now doing that. And so we're here to support you. There's a lot we can do, a lot we will do. I've laid out the 5 primary objectives with the overarching goal to make sure we're the best place in the state to start and grow a business. So please take down my contact information. I'd be happy to connect with each and every one of you offline to support however you can, to play a linkage role where I can. But I think at this point, I'll leave my contact information on the screen for another second or two. We would open it up to questions, and I'd ask Kelly to sort of facilitate those with us.
Sounds great, Jim. Fantastic job. So if you have a question for Jim, now's a great time to go to the Q&A box and pop it in there. We'll give you a couple of minutes to put those questions and answers in there, and then we'll come back and we will answer those questions. So let's real quickly run through the chat, and you'll see that there's a link for the B3K Prosperity Survey. More resources, the ETR Online, the Employers Training Resources, great programs such as on-the-job training and other credits that you could get for your business. The market assessment from Brookings. Christina, I'll get back with you on that. I don't know what happened there. There's Jim's contact information right in the chat. Moving on up, you'll see reference to our YouTube channel where you'll find this fine production there in just about another couple days. Also, to receive no-cost consulting or advising through the SBDC, our phone number, or if you have questions on the City of Bakersfield Entrepreneurship Grant Program. There's information there in the chat on the QuickBooks that's coming up, provided through the North of the River Chamber of Commerce. Couple programs related to the City of Bakersfield that we referenced. Also, the food management program. Ollie Morris's contact information is in there. All of this information in the chat. So that's the chat. So let's go to the Q&A box and see what we got here for you. Okay, the first question is, we are a small business steel pipe distributor and wondering how we would be able to get involved in bids or become a supplier for the building of the Hard Rock Casino. So Jim, I'll let you start that one, and then maybe I'll punch it in a little bit if you have any ideas.
Yeah, so they have not announced the groundbreaking date, and they have not announced the vendors, the prime vendors. So that's a great question. I guess I would encourage you to keep an eye on the Hard Rock Casino Tajon website. There will be a registration link for people who want to get involved as a vendor. So I would keep an eye on that, Jane, and register as a supplier when that link is live. They haven't announced the groundbreaking date or the prime contractors, but that would be the first thing I would do. And while I'm talking about that, I'd also encourage all of you. This is for Jane and anybody else who sells things. Register as a supplier on Kern County's website, because you'll get notified if there are bids that come out. So They haven't posted the link to register for the Tajon project yet, but I expect that to happen, and I would register there to make sure you have a crack at getting that business. Great question, Jane. And I don't know what else, Kelly, you can add to that.
Well, I can add that Maureen has already added the Hard Rock Casino website to the chat. But also, what I would add is that, we talk a lot about government procurement and contracting and the reason why you get certified for certain benefits. But it really shows that there is a real need to talk about what the private industry, the private sector is doing as well in procurement. And you've just given me an idea for a webinar guest coming up where we can maybe talk to someone from one of the larger companies and talk about how they deal with procurement, the utilities, the oil companies, etc. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's a good one. One of the B3K initiatives I'll mention, Kelly, is we do want to get regional procurement policies set. All of us who have owned or do own small businesses, we are blessed and benefited when large companies buy from us, and we really want to make sure that's a priority, and that large enterprises, whether it's the casino or traditional players in the valley, know how important it is and what the multiplier effect is when you do buy local. So yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, our next question is, what is our biggest competing markets in California for new businesses, and what advantages do they have over Kern County?
Oh, Mr. Bryce wants me to talk a little dirt. Okay, well, that's a great question. Statistically, we look a heck of a lot like other counties around the state. I think the region that I hear most about and that I feel a fierce competitive nature with is our friends to the north in Fresno. They have pulled a lot of rabbits out of a lot of hats to get some relationships going that I have a little envy over, and I think they're one of our biggest competitors. If I go to their airport to look at flights, they are packing, handing, and feeding us our lunch. They are kicking our butts in Fresno, specifically to some of the things going on in air travel, some of the grants that have been received from the state. So we are a come from behind team at Kern County, and we have to get a little more serious about what we're doing with transportation. We have to get a little more serious about what we're doing with our permitting process. But I think that area is our biggest competitor, and I think our advantages are still not fully activated here in Kern, but they will be. They've just been a little quicker on some of the uptake on some of the state and federal priorities there. We're a come from behind team, and we're going to get out ahead of this thing. But what we have going for us in Kern that nobody else in the state of California has, it's three things. Nobody else has these three things: the geology, the geography, and the community spirit. That's our raw ingredients. So there is no excuse. There is no reason why we shouldn't be beating Fresno and any other region with regards to economic development. We should be the best place in the state from a permitting process, from an operations process, from a transport process. We should be number one. We're not there yet, but I really do believe we're pivoting from defensive posture to an offensive posture, and we're going to get there. But that's the group that keeps me up at night. Our friends, our frenemies in Fresno, who we do have some collaboration with, and we like that. They're also, we compete a little bit, and we got to get a little sharper. So hopefully that answers that question.
Okay. Kern County is still a great place to do business.
It's a great place, and we're going to honor and celebrate what's working, and we're going to get even better. We're going to become the best.
So take that. Okay, so the next question is, curious your view on worker co-ops. For example, a rideshare co-op that has started up in New York City and Denver.
That's a good question. The co-op model is a little bit new to me. I think it's worth exploring in a serious way. From an economic development standpoint, co-ops have been around for a while, and co-ops are very much smiled upon and embraced by the economic development community because it goes back to that equitable and broad benefit based on inputs, right? So I think it's worth looking at. I don't know a ton about what's happening with the co-ops that are mentioned, the rideshare co-ops, but I think it's worth looking into, and I'd like to learn more about that.
Yeah, and my 2 cents on the matter as far as co-ops, I see maybe more of an opportunity in some of the businesses that are going to be impacted by higher labor cost. For example, with the fast food law being establishing a $20 minimum wage for fast food workers, that's going to lift the wages in restaurants. So are there ways that maybe some restaurants can get economies of scale by partnering with others and maybe others in their particular field? You know, fast food restaurants have the advantage because they mass produce a lot of the items that are in their menu items out of state at low labor cost, and then have that trucked in, where our restaurants are pretty much doing the food prep and everything on site. So there's maybe some things that can be done co-op wise. I have not heard of that either as far, but it's an interesting example of taking on ride sharing, which has really kind of prospered the last several years with the model that they have. Okay, next question. Are you, or do you plan to collaborate with the city of Bakersfield's economic development?
So the city and the county are aligned in many ways. You know, if you take a economic development prioritization and do like a Venn diagram, city and county, there's a lot of overlap. Respectfully, there are some things that the county will do or that the city will do where there's not perfect alignment, and that's okay. But there is a high degree of overlap, and there's a really high degree of collaboration. So I personally am in contact with the economic development team at the city of Bakersfield on a very regular basis. And so, yeah, we are collaborating. I mentioned the permitting process, right? So depending on where you build, if you're in the city, you got to go to the city for a permit. If you're in the county, you come to the county for a permit. Believe it or not, both permitting processes have some great things about them, and both of them have some areas where we can do better. Both the city and the county use the same systems. And so for what I think might be a very first time, we're collaborating on what are best practices and standards. How do we make these systems work better for the benefit of the taxpayers? And so the reason we're able to do that is because of B3K. We, along with our friends from SBDC and KDC and lots of other folks, are at this convening table called B3K to talk about these programs. And so, yeah, that's a long-winded way to say we are collaborating, because at the end of the day, people need to get work done. They need to build a building. They want it to be a smooth process. They don't really care too much if it's the city or the county. They want predictability and certainty. So we are aligned with the city in improving processes across both of those jurisdictions.
Okay, running out of time, but there's a few other things in the chat. Maureen has posted for Google reviews. You can go to our CSUB SBDC business profile on Google. Also, a comment on a steel pipe distributor business. If you want some loads moved, there you can pick that up if you're interested. Also, Christina, my husband and I are taking over a business that failed from the last owner, but had always been a success. Do you have any advice? I will love to give you advice, and I will contact you offline. And I have a feeling I know a little bit about that situation already. And lastly, Jim, is your office handling tourism and film making permits for Kern County?
My office is not, but we can help provide those linkages. We get calls about those sorts of things. And so we can help with that. It's not my particular department, but we can help navigate that and get that done.
Okay, so that's going to wrap us up for this week. Jim, a pleasure to have you on board. A pleasure to have you on Webinar Wednesday. Look forward to meeting with you soon.
Thanks for having me, and good to be with you, Kelly.
Okay, so that wraps up this webinar. And what we will do is move on to next week, number 298, which will not let me advance the slide. So for Jim Damian and Ollie Morris, I'm Kelly Bearden. We'll be back with webinar number 298. It's going to be on turnaround small businesses. Yes, struggling small businesses, some tools from a East Coast specialist in that particular field. So look for that for next Wednesday, number 298. Big thanks to all that participated today. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone.